a unique painting technique called stencil. We are going to paint a rose flower, and many might be wondering, painting a rose flower is going to be a very difficult task. But we are going to show you how effectively, quickly you can paint, and not only multiple number of times you can paint it within no matter of time. Today we are going to see the products which we are going to use it for this painting, the stencil technique. First of all, you require a Camel drawing notebook, and we also require Camel acrylic color, which is basically a fabric color, and it is a multi-surface color which you can not only use it on fabric, even on non-fabric you can use it like pot, thermocol, plastic, leather, resin, and it is totally safe for the skin. You can also use it for color maybe. We are going to use Camel drawing pencil for sketching. We are going to use Camel synthetic brushes. It comes in round and flat. Today we will be using round brushes. We will be using Camlin scale, 1 foot scale. We will be using a cutting mat. Apart from this, we also require the accessories material and the design. First of all, choose a appropriate design, whichever you want to make stencil. We require a precision knife or a normal cutter. This normal pencil cutter is okay to use, otherwise you can also use a precision knife. We require a marker to just mark, and apart from that we require a sponge, which is a table sponge, which normally we use it to clean the table, and this sheet is called Garware polyester film. The speciality of this film is one side it will be glossy, that is shiny, the other side it will be matte finish. So on the glossy finish you cannot sketch it with a pencil, but on the matte finish you can sketch with a pencil. So that's the speciality of this. So let's see how the printing is being done, then I will take you to the process of how a stencil can be made. So let's start. First of all, you require a surface where take either a cartridge paper or a drawing notebook. So I'm going to draw a guideline which is going to be a cross. I made a cross. Why this cross? Always use a pencil to do it, because after painting you can erase the outline, the cross you can erase it, and even on the fabric, if you're going to do it on fabric, you can erase it. To finish this task, we require 3 sheets of stencil. I have marked this stencil as number 1. So I am going to use the number 1 stencil. I am going to use only 2 colors. One is red, the other one is green. I am using a Camel synthetic brush. As I told you, we are not going to use brush to paint, but to load colors and apply on the sponge, we require brush. I already have, you can see I already have a cross on the stencil, and this cross has to be matched with the cross which I have marked on the paper. What is it called? This cross is called guideline. What we are using here is a paper, but you can also print on fabric. So this technique is called shading technique, where we are going to shade. So I'm just giving a slight pressure. You have to just smoothly slide onto the flow of the petal, the way the petal flows, that direction you need to do this shading. Now I'm using a green. So the first stencil is over. I'm using the second stencil. Now I have just seen this cross, the guideline, but I have not seen the design. You don't have to go through the design. If the guideline is perfect, then your design will be perfect. The direction which I am doing it, because since I know the flower, the way the direction of the petal flows, so accordingly I am just sliding. The third sheet which again, so hardly it takes time for you to complete this 3 stencils, and only 3 drops of red and 3 drops of green which we have taken. 1.5 to 2 minutes would have taken time. Now you can see the design. Now we just painted, now it's already dry. Why? Because the color consumption is so less, only 3 drops of red and 3 drops of green which we have used it. So the painting is over. Now if you wanted to make it more attractive, you can also join these leaves. So I'm using a synthetic brush, a little water will also do. So these stencils can be used not only on paper, on fabric, on even on wall you can use it, multiple surface, any flat surface you can use this. So now you saw how a stencil is being painted. Now we will go through the process of how a stencil can be made. You can make your own stencil, whichever the design you see it in the magazine, you can make a stencil. So first of all, you need to choose which design you are going to make a stencil. I already have a rose flower, the same flower what we have printed here, I got a printout of it. So you see in a magazine, first trace a design or take a printout, and then you need to understand how we need to go through the process of printing. If you want to do very quickly printing, so stencil is the only way. This technique, this effect cannot be achieved through brush strokes. So the process, the printing process is called shading technique, where we have just moved on the stencil. So what you need to do is, here you need to start numbering. Now I will start from here. So this petal name is number 1. So number 1 stencil. This petal is next to one which is touching and overlapping. So I cannot mention number 1. So I will number this as 2. So this and this petal is touching or overlapping with this petal. So I cannot number 1 or number 2. So I need to go for number 3. So this is far away from 1. So I will number this as 1. Then this is 3 and 2 which is touching with this petal. So I will not go for 2 or number 3, I will go for number 1. So you need to see whether the petal is close or touching together, then please avoid that number. Now this petal is touching with this 2 and 1, so I will go for number 3. So this is how you need to keep on numbering it. So similarly you need to keep on numbering. I will show you how I numbered this. The same flower I have numbered it here. Always ensure that the sheet which you are going to use it for the stencil should be always bigger than the design. Why? While printing, while you print it, you might also spill on the surface. So you need to take a bigger sheet. Now this design is smaller. Now you can see how big is the sheet. So if I spill, it will be spilling on the, when I print it, it will be spilling on the Garber polyester film. The first and foremost thing which I will be doing it here is marking a guideline. As I told you, guideline is the key. So wherever you see number 1, so I hope you can all see the number 1. So I am going to start it from here. It's a leaf. Please ensure that you need to hold it perfect tight, otherwise you can also put a cellophane tape, which is not required. So you can just hold it with your left hand and then start sketching all ones. So wherever number 1, because this sheet is called number 1 stencil. So wherever you see number 1, you need to sketch number 1. So I'm marking all number 1s. Wherever number 1 is there, you need to mark it. The critical part of it is only the numbering. The rest is much easier. If you number it perfectly, then the printing process is very simple. So all ones are done. So similarly, I already have sketched, because of the time constraint, I have sketched already number 2 and number 3. Let's see whether 2 is matching. If I have missed out anything, let's see. So number 2. So I marked the guideline, marked it as mentioned as number 3. So wherever 3 is there, I have marked all the 3. So let's check whether all 3 is being done. Okay. So now we'll go for cutting. I'm going to take the first stencil. I'm going to show you how cutting is being done. Whenever you cut it, you need to hold your right hand side where you hold the cutter stable and move the stencil from on the left hand side. You need to pull the cutter down. We have kept a mat so that it doesn't spoil the table or the cloth. It doesn't. I've just turned the stencil. Again, I'm cutting one more leaf. You saw the cutting with the normal pencil cutter, but this precision knife will be much more useful. You start from one point and then rotate this sheet from your left hand side. The left arm should be used to rotate the sheet keep a white sheet of paper beneath so that it will be properly visible for you. The entire process of stencil, within half an hour you can finish the entire tracing, cutting entirely, you can finish it, and the printing process, just 2-3 minutes you can finish the entire printing process. Now similarly, the second and the third sheet needs to be cut. So 1, 2 and 3. You can share your artwork, and you can tag us in Instagram and Facebook, and so I want you to try and tell us your feedback. I hope you all enjoyed watching how a stencil being made and how a stencil can be printed, and I hope you'll all enjoy doing this for your upcoming festive season. You can paint, you can decorate your home, you can decorate your outfits, and shoot us your feedback and tell us how you felt this workshop. Thank you all. Wish you a very happy Diwali.